Let me start with a brutal truth most women never hear. When a man first sees you, he doesn't see your soul. He sees your body. He doesn't feel connection. He feels chemistry. And if you confuse that spark for something deep, you could end up loving someone who was never emotionally available to begin with. In the first few moments of attraction, many men are not thinking about compatibility, future, or love. They're caught in what I call the visual trap, a primal reaction based on physical desire. It's not evil. It's not intentional. It's biology. But here's the twist. What happens next separates lust from lasting love. This video will pull back the curtain on something no one is saying out loud. Most men do not fall in love with their hearts first. They fall with their eyes. And that gap between visual attraction and emotional investment, that's where most relationships get lost. If you've ever felt confused after a man pursued you hard, only to vanish the moment things got intimate, this video will make everything click. It's not your fault. You didn't do anything wrong. But you do need to understand the inner timing of the masculine mind, because until you know how men emotionally attach, you'll keep giving your heart to someone who only showed up for your body. Stay with me. Because once you understand why men lust first and how to tell when love is actually forming, you'll never fall into the same emotional trap again. Let's begin. Most women grow up learning that love and desire are tightly connected, that when someone wants you physically, it's a sign of deeper feelings starting to form. But for many men, especially early in a connection, desire and emotion live in two completely different compartments. And unless you understand that split, you're going to read his signals wrong and get hurt in the process. When a man feels physical attraction, it's instant, reactive, and overwhelming. His biology is wired to respond to visual cues, your smile, your walk, your body language. That intense desire creates a rush, a temporary high that drives pursuit. But here's the part no one tells you, that desire can be completely separate from any genuine emotional investment. A man can chase you, compliment you, make plans with you, and even treat you like a queen, not because he loves you yet, but because the chase itself is thrilling. It's in that early stage where so many women get emotionally invested, thinking he must really like me, when in reality he's still only operating from a place of attraction and curiosity. Desire is quick, emotion is slow, and men often need time, shared experiences, and emotional safety before their hearts even begin to engage. This is why so many women feel a sudden emotional disconnect after being physically intimate. It's not that the man was lying. It's that he hadn't built an emotional connection yet. He was never in love to begin with. And the worst part, you might have been. Now, this doesn't mean men are incapable of deep love. Far from it. But for many men, love comes after trust, respect, and shared vulnerability. Those are not triggered by looks or sex. They're built in the quiet, in-between moments. Men don't always realize they're emotionally attaching until they're already in it. It creeps up slowly, subtly, while you're cooking together, laughing over something stupid, or during those quiet nights when you're just there, fully present. The challenge is that women often equate consistency of attention with depth of emotion. If he's texting daily, calling, making time, he must be emotionally invested, right? But many men can maintain those behaviors from a place of routine, convenience, or even guilt. Not necessarily love. That's why it's so important to slow the pace. You need time to see whether his desire has the potential to evolve into something deeper. And this brings us to a critical point. Men are not emotionally unavailable. They are emotionally delayed. The timeline is different. What you feel after 3 dates, you may not feel until months in. If you try to force emotion to show up before it's real, you'll mistake desire for devotion. And that's where heartbreak begins. To protect your heart, you need to observe more than you emotionally invest. Watch how he shows up when he's not trying to impress you. Pay attention to whether he's curious about your mind, not just your body. That's where the truth hides. And once you know how to read it, you'll never confuse desire for love again. Lust isn't just a feeling, it's a chemical reaction. When a man feels intense attraction toward a woman, his brain is flooded with a surge of chemicals that completely alter how he sees and experiences her. In fact, lust can be so powerful that it blinds a man's ability to see the actual person in front of him. He's not connecting with your values, your depth, or your dreams. He's responding to a neurochemical cocktail that tells him, I want her and I want her now. When lust is triggered, the brain releases dopamine, the same neurotransmitter responsible for addiction. This is why a man in the lust phase can seem obsessed. He may pursue you relentlessly, message you constantly, and make you feel like you're the only woman in the world. But what you're actually witnessing is his brain chasing a high. That high comes from anticipation, not emotional attachment. Testosterone also spikes during this phase, which increases physical desire, competitiveness, and risk-taking. Suddenly, he's more assertive, more charming, more intense, because his body is wired to go after what it wants. But here's the catch. Lust is designed by nature to burn fast, not last long. It's meant to initiate the connection, not sustain it. Without an emotional foundation forming beneath it, the fire fades, and with it, so does the man's interest. For women, often increases emotional bonding due to a surge in oxytocin, known as the love hormone. But for many men, oxytocin is overshadowed by dopamine and testosterone in the early stages. So while a woman may feel more emotionally connected after intimacy, a man may simply feel satisfied, distracted, or even emotionally distant. This creates a painful disconnect. One person feels closer, the other feels done. This is why rushing physical intimacy can be emotionally dangerous for women who bond quickly. Because you're not just sharing your body, you're sharing brain chemistry. And while your body is sending signals of attachment, his body may still be operating from a place of primal drive. It doesn't mean he's a bad guy. It just means his emotional software hasn't caught up yet. Understanding this gap in chemistry can help you avoid one of the most common emotional traps. Thinking his intensity means emotional depth. It doesn't. A man in lust will say things that sound like love, but are really desire in disguise. He may believe them in the moment, but moments pass and chemistry fades if there's nothing deeper to sustain it. That's why it's crucial to look beyond how a man acts when he's turned on and pay close attention to how he behaves when he's not seeking anything. Does he show care? Is he present? Is he consistent when there's no reward? This is one of the most confusing and painful experiences women face in modern dating. A man pursues you, gives you attention, makes you feel desired and special, and then after you become intimate, he starts pulling away. His texts slow down, the energy changes, he becomes distant, or worse, he disappears completely. And you're left wondering, what did I do wrong? The truth, it's not always about what you did. It's about how he processes intimacy, and more importantly, what that intimacy meant to him in the first place. For many men, especially emotionally unready ones, intimacy is the goal, not a milestone in a growing connection. That physical moment is the finish line, not the beginning. And because men are biologically wired to pursue what they desire, once they achieve that desire, their brain may shift from craving to contentment, and that shift can feel sudden and cold. This isn't always conscious. Most men don't plan to disappear, but once that intense dopamine rush has worn off, the chase, the flirting, the mystery, the build-up, the chemical reward is gone. If there wasn't any real emotional bond forming beneath the surface, then he doesn't feel the need to stay. What kept him engaged was the pursuit, not the person. And here's something even more important to understand. Physical intimacy can actually trigger emotional avoidance in men who fear closeness. These are men who crave connection but panic when they start to feel vulnerable. The act of being physically close, especially if it was meaningful for you, can expose them to an emotional depth they're not ready to face. So instead of leaning in, they retreat, they ghost, they make excuses, they create distance to regain control. It's not about you being too much. It's about them not being equipped to meet you at the emotional level you're ready for. And let's not ignore another hard truth. Some men are simply opportunists. They present themselves as emotionally available, mirror your desires, say all the right things, just to get what they want. Once they get it, their true intentions surface. This isn't about chemistry or fear of closeness. It's about deception. And unfortunately, a lot of women blame themselves for a man's disappearing act, when it was never about love to begin with. It was a performance. This is why slowing down matters. It's not about playing games. It's about giving time for the truth to reveal itself. The longer you wait, the more his real intentions start to surface. A man who is emotionally aligned with you will not disappear after intimacy. He'll show more care, more presence, and more emotional consistency. He won't be confused. He won't get weird. He won't run. If he disappears, let him. That's your answer. The disappearing act is the closure. Don't chase clarity from someone who showed you through his actions that he wasn't ready or willing to build something real. Protect your heart by letting his absence speak louder than your desire to understand it. And if you've been through this, please know it's not a reflection of your worth. You are not too emotional, too deep, or too much. You are simply dealing with someone who wasn't ready for the level of love you were offering. Let that be his burden, not your shame. Because real men, emotionally grounded, relationship-ready men, don't disappear after they get close. They lean in, they ask questions, they want to understand you, grow with you, and support you. Intimacy deepens their interest instead of ending it. So the next time someone walks away after getting what they want, don't take it as a loss, take it as a filter. That moment revealed who he truly was. And in that revelation, you are one step closer to someone who won't disappear, but stay. It's easy to get caught up in the attention, the affection, and the excitement of someone new. But if you're not careful, you can fall hard for a man who was never in it for love. He was in it for the thrill, the convenience, or the validation. The key is to recognize the warning signs before you become emotionally attached, because men who aren't in it for love will often behave like they are, until they no longer have to. The first red flag is inconsistency. He may come on strong in the beginning, texting constantly, complimenting you, even making plans, but his effort comes in waves. 1 week he's all in, the next he's distant or distracted. You never quite know where you stand, and you're always left guessing. That inconsistency isn't random. It's often a sign he's keeping his options open, or only showing up when it suits him. Another warning sign is surface level connection. If your conversations revolve mostly around flirting, appearance, or playful banter, but rarely dive into your values, dreams, fears, or emotional needs, then he's likely not investing emotionally. A man who's in it for love wants to know you. He's curious about your mind, not just your body. If it always stays shallow, so does his intention. Also pay attention to how he responds to your boundaries. A man who truly respects you will not push you, guilt you, or make you feel bad for setting emotional or physical limits. But a man who's only interested in what he can get will challenge those boundaries in subtle ways. He'll act disappointed. He'll withdraw affection. He might even question your intentions, trying to make you feel like the problem. That emotional manipulation is not love, it's control. And then there's his language. Listen carefully to the way he talks about relationships. If he's vague, non-committal, or uses phrases like, let's just see what happens, I'm just going with the flow, or I'm not ready for anything serious, believe him. Don't wait around, hoping he'll change his mind. Those are not just casual comments. They are preemptive disclaimers. He's telling you up front, don't expect too much. And when someone tells you they're not ready, the worst thing you can do is try to prove you're worth staying for. Another key sign, you feel anxious more than secure. When you're with someone who genuinely loves you, there's a sense of peace, even in uncertainty. But if you constantly feel like you're trying to decode his words, wondering if you're being too much, or walking on eggshells to keep his interest, that's your intuition trying to speak. Love doesn't keep you in a state of emotional confusion. Lust does, manipulation does, but love feels grounded. Men who are not in it for love will also show you where their priorities are. If he only makes time for you late at night, avoids planning ahead, or keeps you away from the deeper parts of his life, like his friends, family, or goals, he's compartmentalizing you. You're a convenience, not a commitment. And the more you excuse that behavior, the more you teach him he doesn't need to give more to keep access to you. Ultimately, you don't need to wait for a man to leave to know he's not in it for love. The signs are always there. You just have to be brave enough to read them. Love doesn't leave you wondering. It doesn't make you feel like you're not enough. If he's not in it with full presence, full honesty, and full respect, he's not in it at all. Lust is where many connections begin, but love is where they're meant to grow. And while it's true that many men start with physical attraction, lust can evolve if the right emotional conditions are present. The challenge is knowing when that shift is actually happening, and when it's just more of the same surface level desire, dressed up to look deeper. So how do you know when lust begins to turn into something real? It starts with emotional curiosity. A man in lust wants your body. A man beginning to love you wants your world. He starts asking questions that go beyond how your day was. He wants to know what you're afraid of, what keeps you up at night, what drives you. He listens, not just to respond, but to understand. He starts paying attention to the little things, not just what's attractive, but what's real. How you react when you're stressed, how you speak about your past, how you handle your emotions. That shift in attention is not random. It's the beginning of emotional investment. Next, you'll notice that the urgency fades, and in its place, there's patience. Lust is impatient. It wants now. It wants quick. It thrives on intensity. But love is slower. It doesn't rush you into intimacy or try to accelerate the relationship to feed the high. A man whose lust is maturing into emotion will create space for you to feel safe, not pressured. He's no longer chasing the thrill. He's building trust. Another sign is presence without performance. In the early lust phase, a man may act extra charming, intense, and even exaggerated in his pursuit. But when lust turns into real feeling, that performance drops. He becomes more grounded, more consistent. He shows up for you even when it's inconvenient. He's emotionally available when you're upset, not just when you're fun or sexy. He no longer needs everything to be perfect to want to be around you. Also, love invites vulnerability. When a man starts sharing parts of himself that are less polished, his fears, his past mistakes, his uncertainties, it's a powerful indicator that you've moved beyond surface level desire. Lust protects ego. Love allows exposure. He's no longer afraid of how you'll see him. He wants you to know him. That level of emotional openness doesn't happen when someone's just looking to satisfy desire. It happens when someone feels safe, connected, and emotionally drawn to who you are. You'll also notice that your value to him expands. You're no longer just the woman he finds attractive. You're the woman he respects. He includes you in decisions. He seeks your opinions. He starts seeing your presence as a part of his future, not just his present. He stops treating you like a temporary escape and starts treating you like a priority. But perhaps the clearest sign that lust is turning into real emotion is this. He's not afraid of slowing down. When a man begins to genuinely care for you, he starts guarding the connection. He doesn't want to ruin it by rushing. He's more intentional. He's aware that your heart is in his hands and he holds it more carefully. That kind of man doesn't disappear after closeness. He deepens it. He doesn't panic when things get real. He leans in. And here's what's beautiful. Love born from lust doesn't have to be shallow. It can evolve into something incredibly deep and enduring, but only when both people are emotionally available, honest, and willing to build slowly. So yes, lust can become love, but only when it's met with patience, emotional safety, and a man who's ready to feel, not just react. That's when the fire turns into warmth. That's when desire becomes devotion. When a man is emotionally mature, it shows not just in what he says, but in how he moves through the relationship. You don't have to second guess him, decode his mixed signals, or constantly wonder where you stand. Emotionally mature men bring clarity, not confusion. And once you know what to look for, it becomes easier to stop settling for potential and start recognizing real presence. Emotionally mature men speak with intention. They don't hide behind vague words or play games to keep you guessing. Instead, they're clear, even if what they're saying isn't perfect. You'll hear things like, "I really enjoy spending time with you and want to see where this can go." Or, "I'm looking for something real," not just a fling. They communicate desires and boundaries early, not to impress you, but to respect you. They aren't afraid to express emotion, even if it's uncomfortable, because they understand that healthy communication builds trust. You'll also notice that their actions match their words. An emotionally mature man doesn't say, "I miss you," and then disappear for a week. He doesn't make promises he can't keep. He doesn't future fake to keep you emotionally hooked. Instead, if he says he'll call, he calls. If he tells you he wants to see you, he makes time. He follows through, not because he's trying to win points, but because he understands that consistency is a form of care. Another powerful sign is how he handles conflict. Immature men Either shut down, get defensive, or flip the script to avoid accountability. But emotionally mature men know that disagreements are part of real intimacy. So instead of making you feel like you're too much for bringing up concerns, they lean in. They'll say things like, let's talk about it, or I didn't realize that bothered you, help me understand. They aren't interested in being right. They're interested in getting it right with you. Emotionally mature men also take responsibility for their emotional baggage. They don't blame exes for every past breakup, avoid talking about their triggers, or act like victims of every situation. Instead, they've done the work. They know where they struggle, and they're honest about it. You'll hear them say things like, I used to avoid vulnerability, but I'm working on showing up more. Or I've made mistakes in past relationships, and I've learned from them. That self-awareness is rare, but it's also essential for real love. What they don't do is lead with ego. They don't need to dominate the conversation, control the dynamic, or prove their worth by impressing you. Instead, they make space for you to be seen and heard. They ask thoughtful questions. They celebrate your independence. They aren't intimidated by your strength. They're attracted to it. And rather than make you smaller to feel big, they lift you because they're secure in who they are. Even in intimacy, emotionally mature men are attuned. They care about emotional connection, not just physical gratification. They'll check in. They'll ask what makes you feel safe. They'll listen because to them, closeness isn't just about chemistry. It's about trust. But perhaps the biggest sign of emotional maturity is this: you feel safe. Not just physically, but emotionally. You're not walking on eggshells. You don't feel like you're too emotional, too honest, or too complicated. You feel accepted, supported, respected. Emotionally mature men are not perfect, but they are present. They take accountability. They communicate openly. And they're not afraid of love. They're prepared for it. So if you're constantly chasing clarity, trying to fix mixed signals, or shrinking yourself to maintain peace, it's not love. It's emotional immaturity. And you deserve more than that. You deserve someone who makes love feel like home, not a war zone. Attracting love, not just lust, starts with understanding your own energy. Because whether you realize it or not, you're always teaching people how to treat you based on what you accept, what you entertain, and what you believe you deserve. If you keep attracting men who only want one thing, it's time to shift not just your boundaries, but the frequency you're operating on. Lust is easy. It feeds on surface level attraction, fleeting chemistry, and instant gratification. Love is different. Love wants depth. Love requires intention. And the men who are looking for love pay attention to very different things than the ones just chasing a moment. So if you want to attract love, you have to become magnetic to what's real, not just what's thrilling. It begins with clarity. Know what you want, and don't be afraid to say it. Too many women water down their standards or stay quiet about their needs because they're afraid of scaring someone off. But here's the truth. The man who is emotionally ready for love won't be scared by your standards. He'll be drawn to them. Speaking your truth early, without apology, is how you filter out the ones who are just passing through. Attracting love also requires you to slow down. Lust wants to rush. Love wants to build. A man who is only interested in your body will try to accelerate physical intimacy. But a man who's interested in you will be patient. He'll enjoy getting to know your thoughts, your emotions, your values. So take your time, build emotional safety first. That's how you separate those who want your essence from those who just want your body. And remember, your energy speaks louder than your words. If you feel desperate for love, you may attract people who feed off that vulnerability. But when you walk in confidence, wholeness, and peace, you create a different vibration. You stop performing to be chosen and start choosing based on how someone shows up. That shift changes everything. It puts you in a place of power, not control, but alignment. Another key to attracting love is healing your past patterns. If you've been hurt, betrayed, or abandoned, it's natural to carry emotional armor. But walls don't just keep pain out, they keep love out too. Emotional availability is a two-way street. If you want someone to show up authentically, you have to do the same. That doesn't mean rushing in with open wounds. It means doing the inner work to make sure you're not mistaking chemistry for compatibility or attention for affection. And above all, don't lose yourself in the process of being loved. The most magnetic version of you is the one who's whole on her own. You're not waiting to be saved. You're not looking to be completed. You're ready to share, not surrender your happiness. That kind of energy doesn't just attract love, it attracts the right kind of love. So if you've ever asked, why do I keep attracting the wrong men? The real question is, what energy am I leading with? When you lead with self-worth, self-awareness, and soul-deep standards, you stop becoming available for temporary attention and start becoming aligned with lasting connection. Because love isn't just something you find, it's something you invite. And the way you invite it is by showing up as the version of you who already knows she deserves it. There comes a point where every woman has to stop asking, why did he leave? And start asking, what did I allow? Not because it's your fault, but because reclaiming your power starts with seeing your patterns clearly. You deserve more than someone who only wants your body. You deserve more than confusing signals and empty words. You deserve a connection that honors your mind, respects your heart, and protects your soul. So here's the truth every woman must know. Lust is loud, but love is steady. Lust makes promises. It doesn't keep. It texts at 2 a.m., shows up when it's convenient, and disappears the moment you ask for more. Love, on the other hand, shows up in silence, in the steady call when you're sad, in the plans made with intention, in the way someone chooses you even when it's not exciting or easy. If you want love, stop giving the loudest voice in the room all your attention. Start watching for the quiet consistency. Another truth, you don't have to prove you're worthy of being loved. You are already enough, without shrinking, without chasing, without performing. The right man won't need you to beg for clarity or tone yourself down to be easier to love. He'll meet you in your fullness and rise to the level of your energy. Stop giving lifetime access to people who were only meant for a moment. Love is not about being chosen. It's about choosing yourself first, so you can choose wisely. Also remember this, your intuition is not paranoia, it's protection. If something feels off, it usually is. If you're always anxious around someone, that's not butterflies, it's your nervous system picking up on inconsistency. Don't ignore your inner voice just because someone looks good on paper or says all the right things. Actions will always speak louder. And consistency, that's the language of real love. And maybe most importantly, the way someone treats you is a reflection of how they feel about themselves. An emotionally unavailable man is not your fault. A man who ghosts, lies, or manipulates isn't doing it because you weren't enough. It's because he's not ready to give more. Your job isn't to fix him. It's to protect your peace. Love does not require you to abandon yourself. As women, we've been taught to endure, to wait, to prove. But love isn't found in how much you tolerate. It's found in how firmly you honor your worth. You don't need 100 chances to see if someone will change. You need one moment of clarity to know that you deserve better. So let this be your reminder. You are not too emotional, too intense, or too complicated. You are just asking for something deeper than most people are ready to give. And that's okay, because the man who is ready, truly ready, will not be scared by your strength. He'll be drawn to it. He'll meet you with the same depth, the same energy, the same heart. And until that day comes, keep loving yourself the way you wish someone else would. Because when you do that, love won't just find you. It'll recognize you.